Who were the Crimean Tatars? Rulers of a powerful and often misunderstood steppe state that lasted for over 300 years. Positioned on the Crimean Peninsula, they stood at the crossroads of empires, Ottoman, Russian, Polish-Lithuanian, shaping history through warfare, diplomacy, and culture. Today we dive into their real story, from their origins and society to their rise, challenges, and fall. Origins. The roots of the Crimean Khanate stretch back to one of the largest empires the world has seen, the Mongol Golden Horde. In the 13th century, the Mongols swept across Eurasia, creating the Golden Horde, a vast territory covering parts of modern Russia, Ukraine, and Central Asia. For over 2 centuries, the Horde ruled the Eurasian steppe, dominating trade routes and local powers. But by the mid-15th century, internal conflict, plague, and the rise of new powers weakened the Horde. It fragmented into smaller khanates, each vying for control. Among these was the Crimean Khanate, founded around 1441 by Haji Girai, a prince descended from Genghis Khan's lineage. The new Khanate inherited Mongol Turkic traditions but quickly developed its own identity, combining steppe nomadic culture with the diverse peoples living on the Crimean Peninsula. Geographically, Crimea was ideal, a peninsula surrounded by the Black Sea, providing access to trade and naval power. Its capital, Bakhchisarai, became a political and cultural center, famed for its mosques, palaces, and gardens, reflecting Islamic and steppe influences. Though technically independent, the Khanate soon became a vassal of the Ottoman Empire, relying on the Ottomans' naval might and political support while maintaining significant internal autonomy. Life in the Khanate. Life in the Crimean Khanate was complex, shaped by its multi-ethnic population and frontier location. The Crimean Tatars, a Turkic-speaking Sunni Muslim people, formed the ruling class. However, the Khanate was home to Greeks, Armenians, Italians, Circassians, and even some Slavic people, all coexisting with varying degrees of tolerance. Religion played an important role. Islam was the official faith of the Khanate, influencing law, culture, and education. Orthodox Christians and Jews were allowed to live and practice their religions, though non-Muslims often faced heavier taxes and restrictions. Crimean society was organized along clan lines, with powerful noble families like the Girais dominating politics. The Khan was supported by nobles called beys and mirzas, who controlled land and military forces. The peasants were mostly farmers, fishermen, and herders. The economy was a mix of agriculture, trade, and warfare. Fertile lands produced grain, fruits, and livestock. Crimean ports on the Black Sea facilitated trade between Europe and Asia, exporting goods like grain, salt, and slaves. One harsh reality was the Khanate's role in the slave trade. Crimean Tatar cavalry regularly raided neighboring territories, including parts of modern Ukraine, Russia, and Poland, capturing people to sell in Ottoman slave markets. These raids were a key source of income but also a cause of long-standing enmity. The Crimean Tatars spoke a Turkic language called Crimean Tatar, rich with Persian, Arabic, and local influences. Their culture flourished in music, poetry, and craftsmanship, blending steppe nomad traditions with Mediterranean influences. Politics and diplomacy. The Crimean Khanate was never an isolated power. It existed in a complicated web of alliances, rivalries, and shifting loyalties, caught between the great empires of its time, the Ottoman Empire, the Russian Tsardom, and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. For centuries, the Khanate was a crucial vassal state to the Ottoman Empire. The Khans paid tribute and aligned their foreign policy with Istanbul. In return, the Ottomans provided military support and political legitimacy. This relationship was a two-way street. The Khanate acted as a valuable military buffer and launched raids that destabilized the northern borderlands of the Ottoman rivals. The Khanate played a complex role in the power struggles of Eastern Europe. When the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth weakened in the 17th century, the Crimean Khans shifted their alliances carefully, sometimes siding with one power against another. They supported different factions in Polish internal conflicts, hoping to maintain influence and preserve their independence. At the same time, the rising Russian Tsardom grew more aggressive. Russia sought access to the Black Sea and control over the Crimean Peninsula. This ambition led to several wars between Russia and the Ottoman Empire, with the Khanate caught in the middle. By the late 17th and early 18th centuries, the balance of power began shifting. Russia's military reforms and growing economy made it a dominant regional force. The Crimean Khanate's reliance on Ottoman support became a liability, especially as the Ottoman Empire's power waned. During these turbulent decades, the Khanate's internal politics were also unstable. Rival factions competed for the throne, often seeking Russian or Ottoman backing. This weakened the state's cohesion at a critical moment. Decline and fall. The Crimean Khanate's final century was marked by growing weakness. Raids into neighboring lands became less frequent and less profitable. The Russian Empire, expanding southward, saw Crimea as the key to controlling the Black Sea. In the 18th century, Russia launched a series of wars against the Ottoman Empire, and the Khanate found itself caught in the middle. The once proud Tatars, whose cavalry had terrorized the steppe for centuries, now faced a modern Russian army equipped with artillery and infantry. In 1774, after a devastating war with the Ottomans, Russia and the Sublime Porte signed the Treaty of Küçükkaynarca. The treaty granted Russia the right to protect Orthodox Christians in Ottoman lands, a dangerous pretext for future interventions, and formally recognized the Crimean Khanate's independence from Ottoman rule. But this independence was largely a Russian creation. The Khanate became a Russian protectorate, with Russian troops stationed on its soil and the Crimean Khans forced to consult with Russian envoys. This new arrangement left the Khanate politically isolated and internally divided. Factional struggles weakened the state further, and revolts broke out among Tatars who saw their independence slipping away. Catherine the Great seized the opportunity. In 1783, under the guise of restoring order, she formally annexed Crimea, ending 3 centuries of Tatar rule. The fall of the Crimean Khanate was more than just a territorial grab. It marked a dramatic shift in the region's power. Russia now dominated the Black Sea, opening the door to expansion into the Caucasus and beyond. The once proud Khanate became a distant memory, its legacy surviving only in stories, songs, and the memories of a people scattered across the steppe. The Crimean Khanate was a powerful, complex state born from the legacy of the Mongol Empire and shaped by the turbulent steppe world. More than just warriors or raiders, they were diplomats, traders, and builders of a unique culture at the crossroads of empires. After the Russian annexation in 1783, the Crimean Tatars faced harsh challenges. Many fled to Ottoman lands, while those who stayed experienced persecution, land confiscations, and attempts to erase their culture through Russification. Over the centuries, their numbers and influence declined sharply. In the 20th century, under Soviet rule, the Crimean Tatars endured brutal repression. In 1944, Stalin accused them of collaborating with the Germans and forcibly deported nearly the entire population to Central Asia, where thousands died from harsh conditions. It wasn't until decades later, in the late 1980s and after the Soviet Union collapsed, that many Crimean Tatars began returning to their homeland. Today, despite ongoing political struggles and displacement, Crimean Tatars continue to preserve their language, traditions, and identity. A resilient people whose history is deeply tied to Crimea's complex past. Their story reminds us that history is never simple, but always worth understanding. Thanks for watching this deep dive into the Crimean Khanate. If you enjoyed it, please like, share, and subscribe for more.